The UPSC CSE arena is an ever-evolving space where staying up to date becomes as crucial as maintaining a thorough preparation. With strategic planning and holistic coverage for exam syllabus, Vision IAS Delhi presents GS Foundation course. Avail analysis and integration of current affairs with GS syllabus. All India test series with an innovative assessment system, inculcating post-test analysis, discussion, all India ranking, and more. Explore the holistic learning modules intrinsically designed for the ideal aspirant.
Good afternoon, all of you. Yes, I guess you are Pol Science students. Yes, so you are planning to appear next year. Fine. So anyways, have you prepared PSIR already, or you are in the process of preparing? In the process of preparing. Fine. Fine. So this year's question, ma'am would have given you some analysis. What did she say? How was the paper? Yes. हाँ, जैसे अभी कुछ सालों से ट्रेंड है PSIR का, वही ट्रेंड मेंटेन करके ये इस साल भी सवाल पूछे गए हैं. Yes, so it was doable. We could go about answering these questions if you had, one, looked thoroughly at the syllabus of PSIR. Second, you would have solved previous year questions. So certain areas are there. When you start the preparation, since you are in the process, you would have, of course, gone through the syllabus quite thoroughly. Yes, before you do a topic, you look at the syllabus and you also look at previous year questions. Very, very essential. Fine. So you find that what has happened generally, that there are certain topics. For example, the Dalit perspective. For example, the PRIs, Gandhian versus Nehruvian model of planning. Yes, fundamental rights and DPSP. Yes, so you have these topics on which UPSC regularly asks question. They'll ask generally one question on Indian national movement also. Yes, so you find that there are certain areas from which UPSC regularly asks questions. So on those lines, we have found the questions being asked. But what is most important before you start attempting any question for that matter is that you read the question very, very thoroughly. You cannot make a mistake in interpreting the question or maybe not attempting one part of the question. Yes, half of the battle is won provided you interpret and understand the question correctly. Fine. So the first question we are starting from, I'll be discussing section B. Yes, and as far as section B is concerned, the first question is question 5. In that question 5, you have 5 subparts, and all the 5 subparts are to be compulsorily attempted. Fine. Fine. So the first question is about constitutional morality in the Indian Constitution. Yes. Yes, it is about constitutional morality. As you can see, constitutional morality has been a topic which has been discussed over the past few years over and over. Supreme Court in several of its judgment has also referred to constitutional morality. In fact, so much so that the question on constitutional morality was asked in GS in the year 2021. Yes, so they had asked, constitutional morality is rooted in the constitution itself and it is founded on its essential facets. Explain the doctrine of constitutional morality with the help of relevant judicial decisions. Anyways, now our question is constitutional morality. What is the context of the question? CM of Delhi was put behind the bars. So once again, there were others who were questioning that fine, you can arrest the CM, that is legally allowed, but the course of action followed, does it lie in line with constitutional morality or not? Fine. Now, if this is the question that is asked, how will you, rough structure, if you were to tell me, how would you go about? Constitutional morality. You will define constitutional morality. What is constitutional morality? What do we understand by constitutional morality? Yes. And see, please remember that this is not a GS paper. This is an optional paper. So what is the requirement of an optional paper? The requirement is that when it comes to the optional paper, we will have to mention the thinkers. That is what distinguishes a GS paper, GS2 paper from, say, the IGP paper of Pol Science. Fine. So now first part we will discuss what is constitutional morality. But the question, is it just about constitutional morality? No. It is about constitutional morality in the Indian Constitution. Yes. So basically, this small question, 10-marker question, comprises two parts. One is what is constitutional morality, and then you'll discuss the constitutional morality which is present in the Indian Constitution. Apart from it, now since it is an IGP question, I told you, one, you will mention thinkers wherever you can. Second, you can also quote Supreme Court judgments. So such questions, such topics, if you were to attempt this year's paper, if you were writing this year's paper, in most probability you would have prepared. Yes, when I will take up the chapter on the salient features of Indian Constitution as part of the IGP paper, we will be discussing constitutional morality in the Indian Constitution for that matter. Yes, so you will mention thinkers and Supreme Court judgments wherever we can. Now, what is constitutional morality? It entails, see, what is morality? Even if supposedly you had not prepared, suppose हमें नहीं पता है, हम प्रिपेयर नहीं करके गए, एग्जाम में ये क्वेश्चन आ गया तो क्या करोगे? ऐसा तो देखो होगा नहीं कि you would not know because current affairs में था. Anyways, morality is a sense of right or wrong. Yes, morality is about a sense of right and wrong. It is about, and this sense of right and wrong traces its genesis based on principles and values, our value system and our principles. So when it comes to constitutional morality, what does it mean? It means, what does the Constitution consider as correct, as right course of action, as wrong course of action. It talks about basically what is the fundamental essence of the Constitution. The Constitution का morality क्या है? Indian Constitution का morality क्या है? For example, it wants to establish welfare state. Yes, it wants to work for welfare of all. It wants to have a political system, a socio-political system which is permeated by concepts like liberty, justice, equality, fraternity. Yes, it wants to be considerate towards people who have been historically disadvantaged. Yes, so affirmative action. Yes, for example, these are, है ना, by just understanding the word we can understand this much. Fine. Now coming back to the answer. So we have defined what is constitutional morality. Constitutional morality entails adherence to constitutional norms within a democratic system. It goes beyond literal interpretation, and we are looking at the essence of the constitution, commitment to values like sovereignty, social justice, equality in constitutional adjudication. This term, है ना, क्योंकि अगर हमने प्रिपेयर किया है, फिर से पॉल साइंस का आंसर लिख रहे हैं, है ना. सो दिस टर्म वाज फर्स्ट कॉइन्ड बाय ब्रिटिश हिस्टोरियन जॉर्ज ग्रॉट, yes, in his 12-volume treatise on a history of Greece. फिर you find B.R. Ambedkar on 4th November 1948, basically when B.R. Ambedkar was making a case for the fact that the administrative structure should be made part of the Indian Constitution. You would have studied, you would know that Indian Constitution is a very long document, one of the longest constitutions in the world. What is the reason? One reason not only deals with the general political structure, but a detailed articles on administrative structure is also made part of the Constitution. So now B.R. Ambedkar, who was the chairman of the drafting committee, he stood in the Constituent Assembly to make a case to convince others that we need to have a detailed administrative structure included as part of the Constitution. And when he was making that case, he for the first time used the term constitutional morality. तो यही है, पॉल साइंस का आंसर है, डिस्टिंग्विश इसी से हो रहा है. Now it is defined as, he defined it as, how did he define it as? Norms and procedures which guide decision making in cases where constitution is silent or grants discretionary power. ठीक है, तो वही एसेंस के बेसिस पे आप डिसीजन लो जब डिस्क्रिशनरी पावर है या द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इज साइलेंट. As such, it refers to the substance of the constitution itself. And being subject to constitutional morality means being subject to substantial moral implications inherent in the constitution. Non-discrimination, and abolition of untouchability, non-discrimination in terms of abolition of titles, है ना. तो ये सारे principle of non-discrimination is inherent in constitutional morality. फिर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल मोरालिटी इन द इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है. देखो अभी मैंने थोड़ा ज़्यादा लंबा लिखा है क्योंकि हम क्लास में डिस्कस कर रहे हैं. ऑफकोर्स एग्जाम में आप इतना नहीं लिख पाओगे, है ना. आपने एक्सप्लेन कर दिया व्हाट डिड अंबेडकर मीन एंड देन व्हाट डज इट एक्चुअली मीन. देन यू गो, इसमें मैंने काफ़ी ज़्यादा पॉइंट्स लिखे, आपको ज़्यादा इतने लिखने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, लेकिन दिस इज़ द मेन क्वेश्चन दैट यूपीएससी हैज़ आस्क्ड. इट हैज़ आस्क्ड कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल मोरालिटी इन इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. तो क्या है कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल मोरालिटी? एज सच इट इज़ नोवेयर डिफाइंड इन द इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, बट इट इज़ एम्बेडेड विद इन द इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. तो एम्बेडेड कहाँ पे? फॉर एग्जाम्पल इन प्रीएम्बल, फॉर एग्जाम्पल इन फंडामेंटल राइट्स. yes, fundamental rights result in limitation on the government of the day. Yes, prevents arbitrary government, ensures rule of law. Then you have DPSP. Then you have fundamental duties, which try to strike a balance between rights and duties. Checks and balances within the Indian Constitution, all the three branches. Yes, practice checks and balances to ensure that no branch becomes autocratic. Fine. So you find that this is reiterated across these provisions. Then you have some Supreme Court judgments, 1 or 2 judgment if you mention, or even 1 judgment, that would be fine for that matter. These are very, very prominent cases. For example, Union of India versus Government of NCT. Yes, National Capital Territory of Delhi. And on it itself, a GS question was asked 2016 or sometime. Yes, I don't remember exactly. So you find that government of Delhi has had problems with the union government with respect to the location of power. Where does the power to govern this state lie? More with the lieutenant governor or the chief minister. Fine. So you find that they had also ruled that constitutional morality must be adhered. In fact, Supreme Court said that it is like the second basic structure of the Indian Constitution. फिर नवतेज सिंह जोहर versus Union of India, very important case vis-a-vis decriminalization of consensual homosexual relations. Yes, so LGBTQ community पे इन्होंने जजमेंट दिया था और यहाँ पे इन्होंने एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट फ्रेज यूज़ किया था दैट कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल मोरालिटी टेक्स प्रेसिडेंस ओवर सोशल मोरालिटी. In fact, constitutional morality will always, because society might be backward. Yes, society might want to practice, say, dowry, child marriage. But in that case, constitutional morality will always take precedence. And vis-a-vis, on the case that dealt with right to privacy, once again you find that the Supreme Court mentioning about the constitutional morality in safeguarding right to privacy as being part of the constitutional morality itself. How have I concluded? The recent arrest of the serving Chief Minister puts a spotlight on the question of it is ideal to identify and safeguard constitutional morality, for it represents the fundamental values and principles underpinning the Indian Constitution. We are not taking a stand. We are just saying on this issue, the issue was discussed. Next is the question on objective resolution. A very simple question for that matter. है ना, GS का बच्चा भी अच्छा आंसर लिख देगा ऑब्जेक्टिव रेजोल्यूशन में, उसमें कुछ है नहीं. In fact, the entire process of constitution making starts with the objective resolution, which was presented by Nehru. Yes, so you find that we have to write an answer on the objective resolution, how it set the tone for the Constituent Assembly to formulate the Indian Constitution. So these can be the heads under which you will discuss. Who introduced the objective resolution? When it was introduced? When did the Constituent Assembly adopted? ये figures है, facts है, लेकिन mention करोगे तो अच्छा रहेगा. What was its purpose? Yes, some of its provisions are very important, जो बहुत key provisions है. And then finally, what is the significance, present day significance of the objective resolution? Fine. Anyways, I'll be sharing the PPT, so you can, है ना, वहाँ पे भी आपको मिल जाएंगे notes. Objective resolution किन्होंने introduce किया? Jawaharlal Nehru on 13th December 1946 and accepted by the Constituent Assembly on 22nd January. Purpose was to enlist guiding principles for building the constitution or for writing the constitution. It laid down the fundamentals and philosophy of the constitutional structure. What are some of the prominent provisions which we can remember? जो भी आपको याद रहे exam में. It proclaims India as independent sovereign republic. Yes, it said that the territories would comprise British India, the princely states, and any other territory which might want to become part of India. Yes, it says all power and authority of the sovereign independent India draws from people of India. Yes, all the people of India would be guaranteed socio-economic and political justice, equality of status, of opportunity, freedom of thought, expression, faith, worship, vocation, association. Yes, and subject to law and public morality. Adequate safeguards for minorities, backward and tribal areas and other backward classes. You can also talk about in this objective resolution, India had also made commitment for international peace. We had provided for adequate safeguards for minorities. ना ये सारे भी कुछ important provisions थे. कुछ provision जो objective resolution का हिस्सा थे, लेकिन eventually is not reflected in Indian Constitution. What are those? They talked about residuary power. He had said the residuary power will lie with the state. But in case present context, it lies with the center. Fine, so that is the difference. He had said that the states would be autonomous units and would have possessed the residuary power, but that we have not continued with. Yes, You should know because UPSC पता नहीं प्रीलिम्स में पूछ सकता है, कहीं पे भी है ना, they ask such small questions जो आपको पता होना चाहिए. जनरली क्या होता है, बच्चा ऑब्जेक्टिव रेजोल्यूशन भी नहीं पढ़ता. But if you had not read objective resolution, it would become difficult to mention those provisions, and the core of the answer demands mentioning of the provision. That is the core. उसके ऊपर introduction लिख रहे हैं हम और conclusion में हम significance पे conclude करेंगे. Yes? तो significance क्या है? It gets reflected in the preamble, है ना? Preamble of India is nothing but the ideals embodied in the objective resolution. Yes, it inspired shaping of the constitution through all its subsequent stages. Fine. So this is primarily. Next question is the legal remedies in part 3 of the constitution. Now, not verbatim, but another question has been asked previously by UPSC saying constitutional remedies in part 3 of the constitution. तो अब बताओ कैसे लिखोगे ये आंसर? लीगल रेमेडीज इन पार्ट 3. हाँ, आर्टिकल 32 तो है ही, है ना? अब वो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल रेमेडी हो या लीगल रेमेडी, आर्टिकल 32 है ही. और all the fundamental rights का नेचर क्या है? They are justiciable. Yes. We can talk also about judicial review. Yes, Article 13 Clause 2 bestows the power on Indian judiciary, Supreme Court and High Court to intervene in case of arbitrary legislation or arbitrary executive action. Yes, so that is the idea. It ensures rule of law, है ना? तो वो वाला portion भी हम इसमें mention कर सकते हैं. Anyways, legal remedies in part 3. तो introduction किससे करोगे? Part 3. तो part 3 क्या है? आप बताओ. Part 3 है ना, deals with fundamental rights starting from Article 12 till Article 35. Yes, and this part, unlike DPSP, is justiciable in nature. Yes, so that is introduction of part 3. What are the legal remedies? And the legal remedies that are, what has happened? The font has changed. ठीक है, तो I have talked, it is the Magna Carta of India. Magna Carta क्या था? ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट के कंटेक्स्ट में कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनलिज्म, ब्रिटिश कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इज एन एग्जांपल ऑफ अनरिटन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. तो वहाँ पे कुछ मेजर डॉक्यूमेंट्स हैं. तो एक मैग्ना कार्टा करके डॉक्यूमेंट है जिसमें राइट्स ऑफ द पीपल हैव बीन एनलिस्टेड. तो फंडामेंटल राइट इज कंपेरेबल टू द मैग्ना कार्टा ऑफ इंडिया. यस, legal remedies in part 3 are for protection of those rights against violation by state or other institutions and individuals. तो यहाँ पे पहले है 13 Article 13 Clause 2 which talks about judicial review, and then you have Article 32. Article 32, under it Supreme Court has original powers with respect to act as a guarantor of fundamental rights. Original power का मतलब क्या है? Aggrieved individual can directly approach the Supreme Court. Article 32 gives power to the Supreme Court to issue writs, yes, in case of violation of fundamental rights of the citizens. You find that writs such as habeas corpus, mandamus, prohibition, certiorari and quo warranto can be issued by the Supreme Court. अब मैंने कहा ये ओरिजिनल पावर है, क्या ये एक्सक्लूसिव पावर है सुप्रीम कोर्ट का? हाई कोर्ट ऑल्सो, अंडर विच आर्टिकल? यस, अंडर आर्टिकल 226 है ना, डिराइव्ड फ्रॉम 13 clause 2 जुडिशियल रिव्यू वाला जो आर्टिकल है वो दे रहा है पावर टू सुप्रीम कोर्ट एज वेल एज टू हाई कोर्ट, and in fact this power can be extended to other courts as well, but we have not extended. Fine. एंड आर्टिकल 2 के बारे में फिर हम बोलेंगे क्या, ये सोल ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी है, बेसिकली वही है, PSIR है, तो अम्बेडकर जितना हम कोट कर सके, तो वी आर कोटिंग अम्बेडकर. ही सेड दैट इट इज़ द सोल ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन एंड आर्टिकल विदाउट दिस एंड कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन विदाउट दिस आर्टिकल वुड बी अ नलिटी, उसका कोई मतलब नहीं रहता. यस. Yes, so conclusion mein we have mentioned that given the significance of these legal remedies, both judicial review and Article 32, and a Supreme Court as a guarantor of fundamental right has been made a part of the basic structure of Indian Constitution. So even by amendment, the Parliament cannot abridge these rights of the people. Fine, next question is on रेलेवेंस ऑफ लेजिस्लेटिव काउंसिल. ये भी एक बहुत सिंपल क्वेश्चन है ना, बहुत बेसिक लेवल क्वेश्चन है, लेकिन यहाँ पे शब्द क्या लिखा यूज़ किया है, द वर्ड दैट दे हैव यूज्ड इज रेलेवेंस. फाइन, it is relevance. So when you are asked about relevance, you are basically going to critically analyze of sort. So you will mention pros as well as cons. Yes. So whenever the question reads relevance, you will mention some challenges, some difficulties, some weaknesses, some lacunae. Fine. Now what is the context under which they have asked this question? The context is several states such as Assam, Odisha in the recent years have been demanding legislative council of their own. So how do you write the answer? First you have to discuss what is a legislative council. अब जब भी देखो इस तरह का क्वेश्चन आ रहा है, अगर फंडामेंटल राइट पे क्वेश्चन आ रहा है तो DPS भी मेंशन करना ज़रूरी है. Only by comparing and contrasting you are able to bring out all the features, and you don't have to write too much, just use unlike the word. Yes. Similarly, if a question is on Rajya Sabha, you mention somewhere Lok Sabha. Similarly, if a question on Legislative Council, you cannot write an answer without mentioning State Legislative Assembly. Fine. So you will mention, we will mention State Legislative Assembly. So we have understood. Question को समझ के हमें दो चीज़ें समझ में आई, relevance, pros and cons दोनों mention करना है. And Legislative Council है तो Legislative Assembly भी mention करना होगा. So how will be the structure? First, we will discuss what do we mean by Legislative Council, understanding it in context of State Legislative Assembly. Then we'll discuss what is the relevance, what are the benefits and what are the challenges. Now the question once again. Fine. So so we have started in fact from the fact that Indian Parliament is essentially a bicameral, क्योंकि Legislative Council है. हर state के पास Legislative Council है नहीं. How many states? Only 6 states. Fine. So we are starting from the fact that at the central level, bicameralism is an essential feature. But at the state level, because there was questions raised on the relevance of Legislative Council, therefore the constitution makers decided to let us give it an option to the states themselves to decide whether they want to continue under unicameralism or they want to have the second house and form a bicameral legislature. So इससे क्या हुआ, ये दोनों शब्द हमारे जो important terms है हमें लाना है आंसर में. Yes, so we have brought that. Then we have talked about अब legislative council, अब state level पे आ जाते हैं. तो legislative council is the upper house. It is also referred to as the second chamber or the house of elders. तो सारे words ला रहे हैं. While legislative assembly represents the lower house, it is popularly referred to as the first chamber or the popular house. At present, only 6 states, namely these states, have a legislative council. And what is the importance of legislative council? First point, it is meant to provide a check, है ना, haste में legislation ना हो. एक्चुअली जो पॉइंट्स राज्यसभा का है उसमें से देख लो जो यहाँ पे फिट होता है ना. राज्यसभा में वन इम्पॉर्टेंट पॉइंट इज दैट राज्यसभा रिप्रेजेंट्स स्टेट. लोकसभा रिप्रेजेंट्स कॉमन पीपल, राज्यसभा रिप्रेजेंट स्टेट. तो अभी यहाँ पे दैट कैन नॉट बी ट्रू, है ना. अदर देन दैट whatever can be brought in. So it is meant to provide hasty legislation नहीं होगा. It allows for representation from various sectors because 1/6 of the members of state legislative council are nominated. Yes, 1/6 are nominated by the governor from who have special knowledge or experience in fields like science, art, है ना. So that is. And this council also acts as a stabilizing force, preventing hasty decision, फिर expert input, thoughtful deliberation, है ना. सारे वही points है. तो we have talked about importance. Though they play an important role, questions are raised on their relevance. In fact, I have mentioned because they like hearing constituent assembly debates. So we have mentioned even in the constituent assembly, the idea of second chamber was criticized at times on the ground such as not representative of the people. It would delay decision making. It is an expensive, है ना, public exchequer पे additional burden है. Yes, when actually no power, much power has been given to the legislative council in decision making. And sometimes they become, they are used for political patronage. So a person with political links who is presently without a job might be posted and might be sent to the legislative council. Therefore, the provision has been made whereby each state can take a decision vis-a-vis on its own. Next is role of women in anti-Arak movement. अब anti-Arak movement क्यों पूछा है? यूपीएससी में एक टॉपिक है पीएसआईआर में, ओल्ड एंड न्यू मूवमेंट्स. ठीक है, सोशल मूवमेंट आप मान लो, या तो सोशल मूवमेंट में भी women movement, environmental movement, human rights movement, है ना. These are the topic एग्जाम में जिस पे सवाल पूछे जा सकते हैं. This is once again a favorite topic. यहाँ से पक्का यूपीएससी will ask questions. Fine. So now they've asked on anti-Arak movement because this movement somewhere had appeared in the news. A lady who was associated with anti-Arak movement, she recently passed away at the age of 90, and very important lady in this movement. Fine. So anti-Arak movement is what movement? It is a movement against alcohol sale in the state of Andhra Pradesh. So it is a women-led movement against the widespread sale and consumption of arak, which is cheap liquor, due to its detrimental effect on families and communities. Yes, women are the primary victim of when men consume alcohol. Yes, so they face domestic violence. Limited resources are plundered away while drinking, without enough resources coming back home to take care of the children. So generally across states we find, or across regions in India, we find women generally raising the banner of anti-alcohol movement. Yes, so that is the idea. अब वही लिखा है कि driven by the impact of alcohol abuse on the household, including domestic violence, economic hardship, social degradation. How did this movement gain momentum? Through collective action, street protest, awareness campaigns, eventually pressing the government to impose ban on arak sales. It highlights the power of women activism. ये बहुत important point है. Women activism in influencing public policy and bringing social change. Fine. It demonstrates the strength of the women's grassroots mobilization. Yes, and also expose the limitation of such movement, because enforcement of this ban is not, is not 100%. Fine. So that is what you can, you can also, how would you classify it, as a new or an old social movement? It has features of both basically, है ना. Old and new में क्या difference है? And new. old social movements are generally led by disadvantaged section, poorer section, है ना, जो tribals, Dalits, the poorer people. New is led by elites. Yes, the means of these movement are also relatively new. It involves awareness generation. Yes, use of social media, use of technology, whereas here it would be hartal, protests, etc. Yes, so you find that these are some of the differences, and you find here as such, though led by poorer women, livelihood issue भी कहीं ना कहीं involved है ना. यहाँ पे जो issues होंगे, जिन issues के basis पे वो लेकर आ रहे हैं, वो larger issues होंगे. Issues जैसे human rights, environmentalism, and old social movement में issues क्या होगा? Livelihood, survival के relation में issues होंगे. Fine. So you find that दो है ना, इसमें ऐसा था कि features of both, though tilted towards old, but features of both are visible when it comes to the anti-Iraq movement. Next, we come to the major questions that have been asked. We are done with those 5 questions. We are now starting with this 9 questions that are asked. Out of these, basically in the exam, in the entire paper, question number 1 with 5 subparts and question number 5 with 5 subparts are to be necessarily attempted. Apart from it, you need to attempt 3 more questions. So it can be 2 questions in section A, 1 question in section B, or 2 questions in section B and 1 question in section A. So wherever you are more prepared, you can write better answers. You are more thorough with the topic. On the topic that has been asked, you should choose those. Fine. So here first question is, how far do you agree that DPSP are more fundamental than fundamental rights in meeting socio-economic justice as mentioned in the preamble of the Constitution? ठीक है, अब ये सवाल है. अब ये सवाल में लिखना क्या है? या तो इस सवाल के पार्ट्स बताओ. How far do you agree that DPSP are more fundamental than fundamental rights in meeting socio-economic justice as mentioned in the preamble? See, we will not say that ऐसे नहीं कह सकते कि DPSP are more important than fundamental rights. Fundamental rights, but judgments of the Supreme Court have never said fundamental rights. The word is fundamental. They are fundamental to each realizing our true personality. They are fundamental to ensure rule of law. They are fundamental to ensure कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनलिज्म और लिमिटेड गवर्नमेंट. तो फंडामेंटल राइट इज नोवेयर लेस. अगर लेस होते तो उनको जस्टिशिएबल क्यों बनाते हैं? Constitution makers have made them justiciable. DPSP has not been made justiciable. Yes, so vis-a-vis socio-economic rights, which is fundamental right more important or DPSP? There we'll say DPSP is more important. Yes, fundamental right का aim क्या होता है? Political democracy. They will lead to political democracy, whereas DPSP will lead to socio-economic democracy. It will lead to, as you mentioned, welfare state. Yes, political democracy मतलब limited government, rule of law, very very important. Yes, it is not rule of the rule of the ruler, rather rule of law is established through fundamental right. है ना, limited government, ये सारे concepts हैं. नहीं, अभी ये मानो हमें ये सब समझ में आया है, अभी सवाल का जवाब कैसे देना है? See the question, there is a chance that how students are going to interpret it is that they will think that this question is about how DPSP are more important than fundamental right in establishing socio-economic democracy or socio-economic justice. Yes, इस पे जब लिखेंगे बच्चे आंसर तो कई बच्चों, एक दो बच्चों से जिन्होंने मैंने इंटरेक्ट किया, what they are saying that what they have done is that they have spoken how this leads to socio-economic democracy, this leads to political democracy. They have not highlighted that fundamental rights are also, they also play some role as far as socio-economic justice is concerned. The question is, DPSP are more fundamental. It is not that DPSP are fundamental. Yes, it is more. So there has to be a comparison. That means both are doing socio-economic justice, but one is doing more, another is doing less. So that is the idea. So you will have to write an answer on that. Yes. So how will you go about writing the answer? बहुत सारे आर्टिकल्स हैं इनफैक्ट, और 39 आर्टिकल 39 clause B and 39C are referred to as fulcrum of DPSP. Yes, they are the most pivotal articles of DPSP, and these articles are considered to play a very very important role as far as socio-economic justice is concerned. देखो, लेकिन अभी हमें कैसे लिखना है? यहाँ पे बोल रहे हैं, ठीक है, एक तो हमने ये समझा कि मोर की बात है, फिर दूसरा they have mentioned not, the question does not stop at in meeting socio-economic justice as mentioned in the preamble. Yes, so you will introduce how? You will introduce through preamble. देखो, question आसान है because UPSC has a number of time asked question in comparison of DPSP and fundamental right. तो ये टॉपिक पे ये सवाल पूछते रहते हैं. इफ यू हैव गॉन थ्रू प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चंस यू विल बी इन अ पोजीशन टू राइट आंसर. बट व्हाट इज मोर इम्पॉर्टेंट, यू अंडरस्टैंड द क्वेश्चन. आपने प्रैक्टिस किया, लेकिन अगर आपने फिर भी क्वेश्चन को सही से इंटरप्रेट नहीं किया, इफ यू हैव मिस्ड आउट द वर्ड मोर, देन इट बिकम्स डिफिकल्ट. यस, fine. So now how do we go about? First, we are introducing through the preamble. We are saying preamble reflects the philosophy of the Indian Constitution to establish a democratic republic embedded with political, social and economic justice. ठीक है, फिर अब हम बोलेंगे, क्योंकि हमें बोलना है दोनों सोशो इकोनॉमिक जस्टिस की बात करते हैं, डीपीएसपी ज़्यादा करते हैं, तो अब हम डीपीएसपी और इस पे साथ में जिन्होंने कोई कमेंट है तो वी विल मेंशन. सो यू फाइंड ग्रैनविल ऑस्टिन का बहुत फेमस कमेंट है दैट दीज टू reflect the conscience of the constitution. Yes, they are the cornerstone of the constitution, they are the conscience of the constitution, they represent the soul of the constitution. So we have mentioned it. Uske baad we are making a small comparison. Fundamental rights part 3 from article this to this. They are justiciable in nature. On the other hand, DPSP are covered under Part 4 from Article 36 to 51, and they are non-justiciable in nature. The primary aim of fundamental rights is to establish political democracy, and the primary aim here is to establish socio-economic democracy. Yes, but that does not mean that fundamental rights play no role vis-a-vis socio-economic justice. So we will give some articles. जो वो right to equality वाला head है, that basically deals with socio-economic justice. तो Article 14 में जो equal protection of law, likes should be treated similarly. Yes, तो वहाँ पे it also talks about socio-economic justice. Yes, in fact that forms the basis of, it forms this equal protection of law becomes the basis of positive discrimination. Yeah, what we call affirmative actions. And because likes should be treated alike and those who are differently placed should be treated differently. Now that shows that that is the philosophical basis for reservation policy. Then Article 15, which talks about allows the state to make special provisions for women and children, to make reservations in educational institutes वगैरह. Article 16, the state is empowered to make reservation in public employment in favor of historically disadvantaged OBCs. Article 17 abolishes untouchability. Article 18 abolishes titles. Yes, so we have shown that yes, fundamental rights also play a role when it comes to socio-economic justice. However, DPSP are more fundamental. अब DPSP are more fundamental, तो यहाँ पे पहले हम फिर से आर्टिकल्स मेंशन करेंगे. आर्टिकल 38, आर्टिकल 39 BNC, इनफैक्ट पूरा आर्टिकल 39 ही है, लेकिन BNC स्पेशली मेंशनड एज फल्क्रम ऑफ DPSP, है ना. आर्टिकल 39 इज अबाउट preventing concentration of wealth, and Article 39C is about equitable distribution of resources. Then you have Article 39A about free legal aid, very very important. Article 41 right to work, unemployment allowance. 43 right to living wages. Fine. They seek to establish welfare state. फिर हम इसी को एक्सप्लेन करते हुए बोलेंगे क्योंकि दे वांट टू एस्टैब्लिश सोशो इकोनॉमिक जस्टिस, दे आर पुटिंग अ पॉजिटिव ऑब्लिगेशन ऑन द स्टेट, एंड सिंस दे पुट पॉजिटिव ऑब्लिगेशन इट रिक्वायर्स द स्टेट टू एक्ट, and consequently they have been made non-enforceable because a newly independent state should not have been burdened by extra financial responsibility and as well as policy objectives. Yes, so the constitution makers wanted to give a free hand to the legislators of the future day to enact those laws on those topics or those issues which they feel are necessary. तो इसको हमने उससे लिंक कर दिया कि it is in fact this reason that they have been made non-justiciable in nature because positive obligation put कर रहे हैं, unlike fundamental rights which put a negative obligation. Yes, it is asking state not to react, not to act, unlike DPSP which is asking the state to take certain actions to ensure socio-economic justice. ठीक है, तो we have said this, but this is by making it non-justiciable, it does not mean that they are considered less important in the scheme of thing. We are also talking about Article 37 of the Constitution, which says though they might be non-justiciable, but they remain fundamental in governance of the country. Fine, so that is the idea. Now further, this was a 20 marker question. अगर ये 10 marker होता है 15 marker, we could have somewhere ended it over here also. But then this debate about importance of fundamental right and DPSP, how fundamental rights are essential for political democracy and how DPSP are very essential for socio-economic democracy, we can discuss, because this goes into the debate at the Supreme Court level. Yes, the various cases starting from 1951 that started coming to the fore, because whenever a state would take some step to implement a DPSP, it could be contested in the Supreme Court given the fact that DPSP are non-justiciable. Yes, so you find that the first such case was Champaran. So we are going to mention this dynamics. इसको short way में mention करना है, important cases को बस list down करके है ना. You will mention what happens. Champaran Durai Rajan case, the Supreme Court took a narrow view. They said fundamental rights, since made justiciable, है ना, will be considered more important than DPSP. So any law enacted to give effect to a DPSP, if found in violation of fundamental right, it will be declared null and void. ठीक है, तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने एक लिटरल इंटरप्रिटेशन ऑफ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन किया और एक नैरो इंटरप्रिटेशन किया. फिर देन कम्स द केरला एजुकेशन बिल केस ऑफ 1957. यहाँ पे सुप्रीम कोर्ट ट्राइड टू strike a balance between fundamental right and DPSP. They said that at the onset, a law which is said to be in violation of fundamental right for enactment of DPSP will not be rejected. If the law can be interpreted in such a way that fundamental right will also not be abridged while giving effect to DPSP, in such a circumstance, through using the principle of harmonious construction, the law will be upheld. है ना, तो फिर यहाँ पे they are moving, they show that they are realizing the importance of DPSP for socio-economic justice and establishment of welfare state. आप वही लिख सकते हो, understanding the importance. फिर क्या हुआ कुछ सालों बाद, the Parliament enacted the 25th Constitutional Amendment Act, through which they introduced Article 31C. This Article 31C comprised two parts. Yes. Now in this two parts क्या था, एक part में है ना, under 31C, under one part, they were talking about how if an article is made to give effect to DPSP 39B and 39C, and in the process it violates Article 14, 19 and 31, then only on this ground that law will not be considered invalid, that law will be upheld. ठीक है, और दूसरा उन्होंने कहा कि दूसरा पार्ट था कि कोई भी law, if it claims to give effect to Article 39B and C, that law will not be questioned by the Supreme Court. So Supreme Court in Keshwananda Bharti case accepted this provision, accepted part 1 of this article, but rejected this because it took away judicial review. Yes, and later on in Menka Gandhi case, and in fact Supreme Court in this case, चलो ये मेंशन करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, जुडिशियल रिव्यू को बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर का हिस्सा बना लिया. दे गिव द बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर डॉक्ट्रिन एंड जुडिशियल रिव्यू वाज आइडेंटिफाइड टू बी पार्ट ऑफ द बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर. एंड फाइनली इन मेनका गांधी केस दे सेड दैट द बैलेंस between FR and DPSP is going to be the basic structure. So basically Supreme Court also accepts the importance of both in establishing socio-economic political democracy, with DPSP playing the primary role in establishing socio-economic democracy, greater role in establishing socio-economic democracy. तो ये कॉम्प्रीहेंसिवली जो भी हमें पता है, एक्चुअली हमने सब लिखा है यहाँ पे. नाउ इट इज़ अप टू यू, है ना, योर एफिशिएंसी इन ब्रिंगिंग ऑल दोज पॉइंट्स एंड लिंकिंग इट टू द क्वेश्चन कंसर्न, एंड दैट कम्स विथ प्रैक्टिस. ठीक है, तो क्वेश्चन को सही से इंटरप्रेट करो एंड देन रियलाइजिंग इट इज़ अ 20 मार्कर, एंड दिस डिबेट इज़ वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. वी आर गोइंग टू मेंशन इट. यस, फाइन. Fine. Next is the question on explain the structure and function of National Commission for Women. ये एकदम direct question है. Yes, there is nothing here. एक तो there is a topic in UPSC syllabus about constitutional and statutory commissions and institutions. ठीक है, इनफैक्ट स्टैट्यूटरी इंस्टीट्यूशंस एंड स्टैट्यूटरी कमीशंस करके ही वो टॉपिक है. एंड उस टॉपिक में से यूपीएससी हर साल जनरली एक सवाल पूछने की कोशिश करता है. एंड दिस नेशनल कमीशन फॉर विमेन, नेशनल कमीशन फॉर माइनॉरिटीज़, NHRC, है ना, ये सारे फेवरेट टॉपिक्स हैं. इनफैक्ट यूपीएससी गोज बियॉन्ड एंड ऑल्सो आस्क क्वेश्चंस ऑन द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल बॉडीज, CAG, Finance Commission, National Commission of Scheduled Caste, National Commission for Scheduled Tribes, for OBCs. Yes, तो ये सारे पे UPSC है ना, year on year they will keep repeating themselves, है ना, in sort of a cycle they will ask question. तो a very direct question on National Commission for Women. तो यहाँ पे क्या पूछा गया है, स्ट्रक्चर एंड फंक्शन. क्या हम आंसर क्या लिखना है हमें, जो मेन कोर है, हम कैसे लिखेंगे इसका आंसर, ये बताओ. एक तो हम एक्सप्लेन करेंगे, है ना, कुछ इंट्रोडक्शन देंगे नेशनल कमीशन ऑफ वुमेन पे. ठीक है, कि वो एक स्टैट्यूटरी बॉडी है ना, वो 1990 में एक लॉ बना था, नेशनल कमीशन ऑफ विमेन एक्ट, उसके थ्रू एस्टैब्लिश हुई एंड 1992 में एक्चुअली एस्टैब्लिश हुई है. Yes, so we will mention that it is a very very important word use करना है, statutory body. And aim क्या है, general aim है to work for upliftment of women. Yes, फिर पूछा है structure, ठीक है, chairman कौन है, other members क्या है ना, ये बताना है हमें. फिर पूछा है functions मतलब what are the functions which are assigned to National Commission of Women. Now will we stop here? देखो, फंक्शन पे आप कभी भी स्टॉप नहीं करोगे आंसर, आपको हमेशा क्रिटिकल एनालिसिस ऑफ द फंक्शन करना पड़ेगा कि हाउ वेल इज इट परफॉर्मिंग दोज फंक्शन. एंड दिस बॉडी इज इन फैक्ट वेरी इल रेप्यूटेड इन टर्म्स ऑफ नॉन परफॉर्मेंस. सो वी विल हैव टू डिस्कस दैट. फाइन. सो इट इज अ डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन. द ओनली थिंग दैट वी आर गोइंग टू ब्रिंग इन इज क्रिटिकल एनालिसिस ऑफ इट्स परफॉर्मेंस. ठीक है, उस वो लिखे बिना ये आंसर नहीं लिख सकते हम. एंड 15 मार्कर है, तो यू एक्सपेक्ट टू राइट 200-250 वर्ड्स. एनीवेज, नाउ एज आई टोल्ड यू, दे वर ऑल्सो प्रीवियसली आस्क्ड. डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चंस वर आस्क्ड इन 2012 and 2019 and once again in 2024. Therefore, going through the previous year papers is very very important. सेम थीम पे ही सवाल पूछते हैं. ठीक है, और कुछ सालों बाद ऐसा होता है एक थीम एग्जॉस्ट हो गया, फिर दे मूव ऑन टू अनदर थीम. यस, तो अभी एक फेज चल रहा है जहाँ पे ये बिल्कुल, जब से ये नया पैटर्न शुरू हुआ, सिंस है ना, सिंस 2013 आई थिंक सो, है ना, दे हैव चेंज द पैटर्न, द नंबर ऑफ क्वेश्चंस. दिस previously they used to ask 60 markers. Now instead of 60 markers they ask 20 and 15 markers and 10 markers. So what has happened, the number of questions that they can ask have increased, and therefore they delve into these topics such as National Commission, these institutional statutory bodies. They go into environmental movements. पहले नहीं पूछते थे इनसे ज़्यादा सवाल, है ना. They will ask in terms of political party system. They will ask question, है ना, perspective on Indian national movement. Very very favorite question. They will ask दलित perspective पूछेंगे, नहीं तो radical humanist perspective पूछेंगे. दो ही पूछेंगे, दोनों में ही they'll keep on shifting. Yes, so you find that there are these are areas from which UPSC likes to ask question, and that is what we see even this year. So going through the previous year questions, we don't say that you limit yourself to previous year question, of course that you cannot do, because only then you bring in interlinkages when you have well studied the entire syllabus. But going through previous year questions very very important. In fact इस question के दोनों part प्रीवियस ईयर थे, है ना, वेरी सिमिलर. फंडामेंटल राइट एंड DPSP पे कई बार पूछा. इनफैक्ट नॉट द सेम क्वेश्चन बट हियर मोर और लेस एग्जैक्ट सेम क्वेश्चन. सो दिस इज द स्ट्रक्चर. सो नेशनल कमीशन फॉर विमेन वाज एस्टैब्लिश्ड इन 1992. अच्छा, और अब हम वापस से GS का आंसर नहीं लिख रहे, है ना, किसका, UPSC में PSIR का आंसर लिख रहे हैं. So there is this Towards Equality report, a very, very fundamental report in women's movement in India. Women's movement in India happened prior to India's independence, where it was interlinked with Indian national movement. Upon India's independence, the leaders thought that women issue will automatically be dealt with. Because you see, at the time of India's independence, women not only participated in the freedom struggle, they were also represented in the legislative assemblies. Yes, they were at the time of independence given a right to vote. Unlike several developed countries, Saudi Arabia only in 2015 has given. So we find ourselves, we thought that we will not have to lead a separate movement for women, given women's pivotal role in the national movement. We will see a forward movement vis-a-vis women's rights. There is no need for any special movement. And that was the view. Then in 1970s, a report was, government of India asked this committee to produce a report on the condition of women. And this report, Towards Equality report, which was published in 1974, is an eye-opening report. It brought stark realities into the scene. It told us about how the sex ratio is very, very tilted towards men. Female feticide is there, dowry practice is there, women's position in the society has in fact relegated into the background. Yes, and with this report, there begins the second wave of women movement, or the first wave post-independence, and as such in the larger picture, the second wave of women's movement. And in fact, one of the important demands of the women movement, which begins following the Towards Equality report, was creation of National Commission for Women. Yes, so taking that theory, we will bring it here, saying that the National Commission of Women can be traced, its origin can be traced to Towards Equality report, which was an eye-opener with respect to the women's condition. ठीक है, वो इंट्रोडक्शन हो गया. अब स्ट्रक्चर बता दिया. स्ट्रक्चर में चेयरपर्सन नॉमिनेटेड बाय द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट, 5 members who represent various fields. ठीक है, मेंबर सेक्रेटरी हु इज द ऑफिसर ऑफ सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट, कमीशन एट द सेंट्रल लेवल एंड द स्टेट लेवल है. फिर फंक्शन, इनके फंक्शंस क्या हैं जो दिए गए हैं, इनको असाइंड है, वो मेंशन कर दो. एग्जामिन लीगल एंड कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल सेफगार्ड्स विथ रिस्पेक्ट टू वुमेन, हाउ आर दीज सेफगार्ड्स फंक्शनिंग, रिव्यू द सेफगार्ड्स की जगह, yes, review the safeguards and suggest amendment, look into the complaints, yes, take suo moto cognizance, SUO, suo moto cognizance, yes, and also they should sanction making sub studies or reports on women. They should also visit detention centers where women are living, jails and other detention centers, and make reports on the condition of women there. तो ये तो स्ट्रक्चर, ये फंक्शन है जो असाइंड है. अब क्रिटिकल एनालिसिस उसका करना है, क्रिटिकल एनालिसिस ऑफ देयर परफॉर्मेंस. सो यू फाइंड दैट द परफॉर्मेंस इज़ नॉट अप टू द मार्क. और उसका क्या क्या शॉर्टकमिंग्स है. शॉर्टकमिंग, पहला शॉर्टकमिंग, रीज़न फॉर शॉर्टकमिंग है कि जो अपॉइंटमेंट है वो पॉलिटिसाइज्ड है. यस, देयर इज़ डिले इन अपॉइंटमेंट. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, जब मी टू मूवमेंट चल रहा था, तो एट दैट टाइम National Commission of Women for India was operating only as a 1-member body. Instead of 5-6 members, only 1 member, because just chairman was present. Itna delayed appointment. Also faces organizational infirmity. क्योंकि क्या है, there are 2 centers of power. एक तरफ National Commission for Women है, एक तरफ Women and Child Ministry है, Ministry for Women and Children. ठीक है, तो वहाँ पे भी conflict हो जाता है. Then 2000, आप कुछ examples है. 2002 Gujarat riots. National Commission for Women came out with a very absurd report saying that there has been no sexual violence against women, when there were umpteen such cases, and this was accepted even by the Supreme Court of India. Then NCW was recently criticized for politicization of violence against women. She was discussing love jihad with the governor of Maharashtra. Yes, it often follows a passive approach. For instance, even during the Nirbhaya rape case, which had mobilized the entire nation, the Verma committee was formed because of people's movement, not because of any pressure exerted by National Commission for Women. So its performance is dismal. एंड इवन ड्यूरिंग, है ना, यू फाइंड दिस, इसका डिसमल परफॉर्मेंस का और एक एविडेंस है कि द वायलेंस कंटिन्यूज टू बी परपिचुएटेड अनअबेटेड. तो रिसेंट मोस्ट RG Kar Medical College case, we have just mentioned that. Fine, so that is how you will write. Critical analysis ही major part है इस आंसर का एक्चुअली, वहीं से मार्क्स आएंगे. बाकी तो ठीक है, आपको एक एवरेज मार्क्स मिल जाएंगे, 4 नंबर मिल जाएगा, लेकिन क्रिटिकल एनालिसिस डालते ही आपको 6 से 7 नंबर मिलेंगे. ठीक है, सो दैट इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट. Now next is the legacy of planning commission still has a bearing on India's developmental policies. Now very very important question. Now this is a different question that UPSC has asked. UPSC has in the past asked about cooperative federalism, नीति आयोग, planning commission. लेकिन अभी इन्होंने क्या पूछा है, एप्लीकेशन बेस्ड. आपको अपना माइंड अप्लाई करना होगा, कहीं पढ़ के नहीं गए हो अब. ये वो बोल रहे हैं लेगेसी ऑफ प्लानिंग कमीशन स्टिल हैज़ अ बेयरिंग ऑन इंडियाज डेवलपमेंटल प्रोसेस. ठीक है, तो अब इंडिया लेगेसी ऑफ प्लानिंग कमीशन क्या है, पहले हम ये सोच लें, फिर उसको हम लिंक करेंगे विथ द प्रेजेंट डेवलपमेंटल प्रोसेस. लेगेसी ऑफ प्लानिंग कमीशन क्या है, 5-year plan, centralized planning. Yes, you find state driven planning. Yes, central role given to the state authorities. State मतलब government को, है ना. public participation इतना नहीं था. This is one of the very very important feature. They focused as part of planning commission only. During the planning commission era itself, we had come out with schemes such as MG Narega. Yes, focus on midday meal scheme, ICDS, है ना. ये सारे schemes आज भी continue हो रहे हैं. वो हाँ, sector focus development. फिर उस समय एक और feature था with vis-a-vis planning commission. Yes, planning commission used to talk about cooperative federalism. Cooperative federalism was the primary focus during the era of planning commission. After Modi government coming in, है ना, नीति आयोग competitive federalism पे ज़्यादा focus हो गया है. Also हाँ, previously जो backward states थे या backward regions होते थे उनके लिए, है ना, we used to have special funds. Even now aspirational districts are recognized and special fund allotment still happens. So you find that though planning commission which once, है ना, 1950 में शुरू हुआ, centralized planning का वो core था, and it was dismantled in 2014, but its legacy on India's economic policies continues till date. So that is how we are going to write this answer. So what have we written? Planning Commission established in 1950 was the primary institution responsible for formulating India's 5-year plans and guiding country's developmental trajectory until its dissolution in 2014 and replacement by Niti Aayog. फिर हम बताएंगे the legacy of Planning Commission, how is it still influencing. यहाँ पे आप examples दे सकते हो, मैंने examples नहीं दिए. Particularly emphasis on centralized planning, economic strategies focused on पॉवर्टी रिडक्शन, अभी भी वो सारे काफ़ी स्कीम्स चल रहे हैं, इंडस्ट्रियल ग्रोथ, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट, यस, कैपिटल इंटेंसिव प्लानिंग, कैपिटल इंटेंसिव इंडस्ट्रीज पे फोकस, yes, many of the sectors and policies initiated by planning commission such as rural development program, public sector investment, targeted welfare scheme, है ना, ST SC इनके लिए continued है, जो ये फॉरेस्ट राइट्स एक्ट है ना, ST के लिए continued है वो सारे. Even नीति आयोग's role in cooperative federalism and long-term strategic planning reflects planning commission's methodology, although there has been a shift towards more decentralized participatory approaches. अब critical assessment करो, ठीक है, सिर्फ उतने पे तो छोड़ नहीं सकते, critical assessment करेंगे. Critical assessment में क्या बोला है? While planning commission laid a strong foundation for India's post-independent development. अब वही प्लानिंग कमीशन की कुछ दिक्कतें भी थी, वही बता रहे हैं. इट वॉज ऑफन क्रिटिसाइज्ड फॉर बीइंग ओवरली ब्यूरोक्रेटिक, रिजिड, डिस्कनेक्टेड फ्रॉम स्टेट स्पेसिफिक नीड्स. And we are concluding by these two statements. We'll conclude later, लेकिन we have mentioned here Arvind Panagaria and Jean Rees. If you know these two people, you know what will be their stand. Arvind Panagaria is a liberal economist. He would favor Niti Aayog more. Jean Rees is a social democrat, and he favors planning commission more. ठीक है, तो अरविंद पनागारिया lauded नीति आयोग for promoting market-led growth in contrast to planning commission state-driven approach. Jean Rees argue कि ये जो नीति आयोग का approach है उससे inequality बढ़ रही है, ठीक है. And finally, we are concluding legacy is a double-edged sword. Fine, it shaped India's development foundation, over-reliance, a break from this legacy, but वहाँ पे फिर भी we see the impact. It's not a complete break. Fine, so this was an application-based question, जिस पे ध्यान देना चाहिए. मतलब यही एक क्वेश्चन है जो थोड़ा application-based, जो कुछ अलग आया है, that है ना, out of the box, but you can, by application of mind, you can answer it. Next is discuss the contribution of Dalit struggle to establish egalitarianism in Indian society during the freedom movement. ठीक है, अभी क्या है, contribution of Dalit struggle to establish egalitarianism. Generally syllabus में हम हमेशा सवाल किस पे देखते हैं? दलित perspective on Indian national movement. ये दलित perspective पूछ रहे हैं? नहीं, दलित पर्सपेक्टिव नहीं पूछ रहे, बोल रहे हैं जो दलित स्ट्रगल था ड्यूरिंग इंडिपेंडेंस स्ट्रगल, ड्यूरिंग इंडिपेंडेंस मूवमेंट, उसका क्या इम्पैक्ट रहा टुवर्ड्स एस्टैब्लिशिंग एन इगैलिटेरियन सोसाइटी. ठीक है, वॉज इट एबल, डिड इट मेक सम कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन टू डू अवे विथ एक्सट्रीम डिस्क्रिमिनेटरी प्रैक्टिसेस, उस पर सवाल है. लेकिन फिर से ये सवाल क्या है, ये 20 नंबर का सवाल है. सो अगर मुझे हिस्ट्री से पता है कुछ दलित मूवमेंट्स ड्यूरिंग द फ्रीडम मूवमेंट ऑफ इंडिया, दैट इज़ व्हाट आई एम गोइंग टू राइट, दैट इज़ द क्वेश्चन ऑल अबाउट, एंड आई विल से आई विल इवैल्यूएट दोज मूवमेंट्स इन देयर सक्सेस और नॉट. बट आई कैनॉट लिमिट माई आंसर टू दैट, इट इज़ नॉट अ हिस्ट्री क्वेश्चन. एंड in fact India's freedom struggle is also one topic, one subhead in the syllabus. तो पूरा जो CDM, क्विट इंडिया मूवमेंट वगैरह सब पढ़ना होता है पॉल साइंस में भी. बट अभी हमें क्या है, इसको सिर्फ मैं दलित मूवमेंट्स तक लिमिट कर दूंगी तो इट विल नॉट बी अ 20 मार्कर. सो व्हाट आई नो इज दलित पर्सपेक्टिव. दलित पर्सपेक्टिव में ऑल्सो आई गेट लीडर्स एंड देयर स्टेटमेंट्स, सो आई यूज दैट इन माई आंसर. यस, सो फाइन, लेट अस स्टार्ट द आंसर. द क्वेश्चन इज डिस्कस द कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ दलित स्ट्रगल to establish egalitarianism in Indian society during freedom movement. Fine. अभी post independence, अभी हमारा caste पे एक topic है, regionalism, ethnicity, caste, religion, caste, ethnicity and their role in Indian politics. लेकिन हमें present day दलित movements की बात नहीं करनी है, हमें past की बात करनी है during freedom movement. Fine, having understood the question clearly, now the Dalit struggle we will talk about during the freedom movement was led by leaders like Ambedkar, Jyotiba Phule, Ramaswamy Naicker, Periyar, etc. which was a crucial force in advocating for social justice and challenging entrenched caste hierarchies. It aimed to establish, taking from the question, it aimed to establish an egalitarian society in India. The Dalit struggle during the freedom movement underscored the necessity of addressing caste-based oppression. वही इसी को वापस से लिख रहे हैं. अब दलित पर्सपेक्टिव ऑन इंडियन नेशनल मूवमेंट इंक्लूड कर दिया. द दलित स्ट्रगल, क्योंकि दलित पर्सपेक्टिव नहीं लिखना है, क्वेश्चन दलित स्ट्रगल पे, तो आई विल राइट द दलित स्ट्रगल was critical of the freedom struggle movement by Indian National Congress. Yes, Ambedkar, for instance, doubted the effectiveness of Gandhiji and his methods and commitment of Congress to upliftment of Dalits. He was influenced by French Revolution. फिर से egalitarianism establish करना चाहते थे, तो I've linked it. Now, I will talk about how they contributed. This movement contributed to establishment of egalitarianism by focusing on issues such as challenging oppressive practices such as denial of temple entry. फिर कौन से movements थे? You have Sri Narayana Guru Dharma Paripalana movement, SNDP movement, Vaikom Satyagraha led by KP Kesava. ठीक है, फिर spread of education, आप road के लिए भी बोल सकते हो, डिनाइल ऑफ टेम्पल एंट्री, डिनाइल ऑफ रूट्स, है ना, तो वो उसके लिए भी मूवमेंट्स थे. स्प्रेड ऑफ एजुकेशन, तो ज्योतिबा फुले बाय हिज सत्यशोधक समाज. दे ऑल्सो डिमांडेड सेपरेट इलेक्टोरेट्स, है ना, टू एंश्योर एडिक्वेट रिप्रेजेंटेशन इन द डेमोक्रेसी, है ना, ताकि वो फंडामेंटल राइट्स को और अच्छे से यूज़ कर पाए. एंड दिस डिमांड वॉज लेड बाय लाइक्स ऑफ ज्योतिबा फुले, B.R. Ambedkar. Yes, so they are important figures there. Through such struggle, अब क्या हुआ उन struggle के? They could bring limited structural change, which as such had a major consequence on the lives of the Dalit. Conclusion क्या है कि ठीक है, इन्होंने कुछ change लाया, some amount of egalitarianism was brought, but that does not mean that Dalit struggle for equality is completed. They continue to struggle to get socio-economic justice, and some recent examples where Dalits were targeted, for example the Hathras gang rape case, and rape by Thakur men of a Dalit girl, and Rohit Vemulla's suicide in Hyderabad University, because of once again being targeted as a Dalit. ठीक है, तो इट लेड द फाउंडेशन फॉर ऑल्सो दलित मूवमेंट इफेक्टिव था, इट लेड द फाउंडेशन फॉर सर्टन सेफगार्ड्स. तो हमने प्रोज एंड कॉन्स दोनों इवेलुएट किया है कि वो कुछ तो अचीव किया, लेकिन ऐसा नहीं है पेन से नहीं था वो. येस, इट हैज़ नॉट एड्रेस द कंप्लीट मेलेस, बट येस इट मेड सम चेंजेस. इट प्रोवाइडेड स्कोप फॉर रिजर्वेशन पॉलिसीज, अबॉलिशन ऑफ अनटचेबिलिटी, है ना, ये सब कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के बिगिनिंग में ही, ऑफ कोर्स इट वाज पार्ट ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, ओरिजिनल कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. Fine, so that is how you answer the question. हमने दलित पर्सपेक्टिव भी लाया, but rather we said दलित view on Indian national movement, क्योंकि national movement की बात हो रही है. For next question, the blueprint of Gram Swaraj is key to understanding Gandhian perspective on planning. The blueprint of Gram Swaraj is key to understanding Gandhian perspective on planning. Yes, I told you this Gandhian and Nehruvian perspective of planning एक common question है ना, इस topic से वो questions पूछते हैं. जब से ये pattern change हुआ, especially पहले भी पूछते थे, और जब से change हुआ तब से especially ये पूछते ही हैं इस पे सवाल. So once again, now they've asked on Gandhian perspective of planning and linked it to the idea of Gram Swaraj. In fact, it is pivotal. It is centric to Gandhian idea of planning. Gram Swaraj मतलब क्या? Village republics. Village republics stood at the core, heart of Gandhian idea of planning, which was about decentralized planning, oceanic circles of power. He was against centralized system. He was in fact against a state. Being an anarchist, he viewed state as an instrument of violence. Yes, so you find that ये अगर आपको पता है तो आप ये अच्छे से, ये अच्छा आंसर लिखा जा सकता है, काफ़ी स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड क्वेश्चन है. गांधीयन पर्सपेक्टिव ऑफ प्लानिंग इज नथिंग बट ग्राम स्वराज. तो लेट अस स्टार्ट. व्हाट इज द ब्लूप्रिंट ऑफ ग्राम स्वराज? तो ग्राम स्वराज refers to self-sufficient, reliant villages, emphasizing local production, sustainable agriculture, reducing dependence on urban centers. यही है, यही पूरा, इनफैक्ट क्रक्स ऑफ गांधी आइडिया यही है. ही बिलीव्ड इन स्मॉल सिंपल, है ना, सिंपल स्मॉल सस्टेनेबल, है ना, एनवायरमेंटल फ्रेंडली rather than मास प्रोडक्शन बाय मासेस. उनका कोर आइडिया यही था, सेल्फ सफिशिएंट होना चाहिए विलेज इकोनॉमीज. तो दैट इज़ व्हाट रिड्यूसिंग देयर डिपेंडेंस ऑन अर्बन सेंटर्स इज बेस्ड ऑन द कंसेप्ट ऑफ, यही सारे जो उनके, है ना, फ्रेजेस है, डेमोक्रेटिक डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन, ओशनिक सर्कल्स ऑफ पावर, वेयर पावर इज एवर वाइडनिंग एंड नेवर असेंडिंग. ये उनके, है ना, फ्रेज है यूज़ किया हुआ. In Gandhiji's idea of Gram Swaraj, there is absence of center or the state because he thought state to be an unnecessary evil, incompatible with the principle of non-violence. Now, what is Gandhiji's perspective on planning? How is the concept of Gram Swaraj key to the Gandhian perspective of planning? जो अब सवाल है तो उसी को लिंक कर दिया है. अब यहाँ पे जब भी गांधी जी की बात करोगे तो नेहरू की बात करोगे. नेहरूज पर्सपेक्टिव ऑन प्लानिंग वर्सेस गांधीजीज पर्सपेक्टिव, यही तुम्हारा सिलेबस है. तो यू हैव टू मेंशन नेहरू बिकॉज वेरी स्टार्क डिफरेंस इन पर्सपेक्टिव. ऑल्सो व्हेन यू मेंशन गांधीजीज पर्सपेक्टिव ऑन प्लानिंग, बिकॉज ही टॉक्ड अबाउट ग्राम स्वराज, विलेज रिपब्लिक्स, वी नीड टू ब्रिंग इन अम्बेडकर. यस, तो ये तो तीन आने ही हैं लोग. गांधी जी, नेहरू एंड अम्बेडकर विल ऑलवेज कम व्हेन वी आर डिस्कसिंग गांधीजीज पर्सपेक्टिव. Yes, and apart from it, if we can bring some thinkers, तो इनके कंटेक्स्ट में E.F. शूमेकर, है ना, शूमेकर ने एक बुक लिखी थी, स्मॉल इज ब्यूटिफुल. इन दैट बुक he has praised गांधी जी as the biggest people's economist. He has praised Gandhiji's model of development. Yes, we can talk about the current relevance in the era of climate change, sustainable development. This is the key in times of growing inequality, in the times of militarization of the means of production. चाइना क्या कर रहा है? वर्ल्ड मैन्युफैक्चरर है, तो वो, उनसे डर है कि जब वॉर होगा तो दे विल डिनाई द सप्लाई ऑफ एसेंशियल कंपोनेंट्स, है ना. तो दैट इज व्हाट. सो इन सच एन एरा, व्हाट इज सस्टेनेबल, व्हाट इज द सॉल्यूशन? It is Gandhiji's idea. He was a visionary who could have come out with that idea, and had we lived in his version of the world, we would have been much better off. The world would be literally, we would have succeeded in establishing the so-called Ram Rajya. ठीक है, वो बहुत बड़े विजनरी थे in terms of thinking. इनफैक्ट अभी आप जो भी प्रॉब्लम्स देखोगे, अब जब आप यूपीएससी की प्रिपरेशन करोगे, all the problems have no solution. The solution is village republics. फाइन, तो वही है. तो यहाँ पे once again नेहरू आई हैव ब्रॉट इन. नेहरू, अनलाइक गांधी, was a modernist inspired by USSR's centralized planning. Yes, and USSR's investment in heavy industries to drive India to become a modern developed nation. वो modernity पे बहुत emphasize करते थे. नेहरू wanted India to become a modern developed nation. इन गांधी जी ने अपना डेवलपमेंट पर्सपेक्टिव कहाँ दिया? उनकी एक किताब है हिंद स्वराज. इन दैट ही हैज़ गिवन हिज आइडिया ऑफ ग्राम स्वराज. Advocates non-violence, self-rule, simplicity, decentralization and sustainability as the primary principles. Unlike Nehruvian idea on planning, Gandhiji emphasized on decentralized planning through Panchayati Raj, community participation, viewing it essential for true democracy and effective local self-governance. Just like Gram Swaraj, his idea of planning is rooted in Satya and non-violence. In Satya and Ahimsa, Gandhiji's vision included Sarvodaya, welfare of all, Antodaya, and on to the last, the weakest section, upliftment of the poorest, emphasizing moral economics and justice. ये core है, ये सारे terms है जो आप बहुत familiar होगे once you prepare. फिर E.F. शूमेकर, क्योंकि IR क्या PSIR का पेपर है. So E.F. Shoemaker identified the 5 main pillars of Gandhian economic thinking. He emphasized on non-violence, simple, small, capital saving and rural based. तो उनके की आइडियाज़ ही मेंशन कर रखे हैं यहाँ पे. फिर गांधी जी के कंक्लूजन में बी आर अम्बेडकर, ही वॉज क्रिटिकल ऑफ दिस आइडिया ऑफ विलेज रिपब्लिक्स और ग्राम स्वराज, because he considered village republics to be the den of ignorance where caste system is most ridden. Yes, most entrenched. And finally we conclude on positive note for Gandhi ji. So we have said E.F. Shoemaker in his book Small is Beautiful calls Gandhi ji as the greatest people's economist. ठीक है, तो ये आप चाहो तो कंक्लूजन में present relevance of Gandhiji's idea also you can write. Now depending on the number of marks for which the Gandhian perspective क्या था, ये 20 मार्कर है या 15 मार्कर है, तो there is a limitation है ना. नहीं तो आप इस क्वेश्चन अगर ये 20 नंबर का है तो आप एंड प्रेजेंट डे रेलेवेंस ऑफ गांधीयन पर्सपेक्टिव ऑफ थिंकिंग. हाँ, 74th कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल, 73rd एंड 74th पंचायती राज मेंशन कर दिया तो वही है बेसिकली, है ना. यहाँ पे नॉन वायलेंस, अहिंसा, अंत्योदया, सर्वोदया, प्रोडक्शन बाय मासेस रादर देन मास प्रोडक्शन, ये सारे की आइडियाज़ हैं. गांधी जी, नेहरू जी, अंबेडकर, yes, all these people come. E.F. Shoemaker, very very important voice when it comes to Gandhian perspective on planning. Fine, so you bring in all of them. फिर ओशनिक सर्कल्स ऑफ पावर, डिसेंट्रलाइज्ड प्लानिंग, ये सारा मतलब ये यूज़ करना ही है. फाइन, नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज क्रिटिकली असेस द रोल ऑफ प्रेशर ग्रुप्स इन डिसीजन मेकिंग प्रोसेस ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट. यस, क्रिटिकली असेस द रोल ऑफ प्रेशर ग्रुप्स इन द डिसीजन मेकिंग प्रोसेस ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट. कैसे लिखोगे ये आंसर? What are pressure groups? बहुत सिंपल क्वेश्चन है. क्रिटिकली असेस द रोल ऑफ प्रेशर ग्रुप इन डिसीजन मेकिंग प्रोसेस. सिंपल क्वेश्चन है एकदम. और देखो प्रेशर ग्रुप्स के टॉपिक में देखो, जैसे मैंने बताया फंडामेंटल राइट है तो डीपीएसपी की बात करोगे, कुछ चीज़ें हैं जो साथ में डिस्कस की जाती हैं, तो उससे एग्जामिनर को पता चलता है पढ़ के आए हो, आप समझते हो चीज़ों को और आप ज़्यादा इन्फॉर्मेशन दे रहे हो कम शब्दों में. गांधी जी में वी हैव टॉक्ड दैट यू विल ब्रिंग ऑल दो स्कॉलर्स, अपने आप आएंगे नेहरू जी एंड अम्बेडकर, देयर इज नो डाउट अबाउट इट. सिमिलरली व्हेन वी आर डिस्कसिंग प्रेशर ग्रुप्स वी विल ब्रिंग पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज. हाउ डू यू अंडरस्टैंड प्रेशर ग्रुप्स? बाय डिफ्रेंशिएटिंग इट फ्रॉम पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज. यहाँ पे तो एक आप चाहे तो एक इन्फोग्राफिक भी ड्रॉ कर सकते हो, एक टेबल ड्रॉ कर सकते हो, है ना. प्रेशर ग्रुप पे एक लाइन लिख दो, फिर पॉलिटिकल पार्टी वर्सेस प्रेशर ग्रुप करके एक इन्फोग्राफिक ड्रॉ कर दो, एक डायग्राम, फ्लो चार्ट सा कुछ बना दिया. प्रेशर ग्रुप है ना, इसी तरह से तभी मार्क्स मिलेंगे. इफ़ यू थिंक द क्वेश्चन इज ऑन प्रेशर ग्रुप एंड आई एम राइटिंग ओनली ऑन प्रेशर ग्रुप, देन नो, यू हैव नॉट अंडरस्टूड द टॉपिक, यू डू नॉट नो योर सिलेबस. इफ़ यू नो योर सिलेबस यू नो व्हेन टू राइट विच, है ना, विच पॉइंट्स टू ब्रिंग. तो यहाँ पे आप प्रेशर ग्रुप्स के साथ पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज ले आओगे. अब देखो फिर से ये क्या है, आईजीपी का क्वेश्चन है, पीएसआईआर का क्वेश्चन है, ऑप्शनल है तो थिंकर्स लाएंगे. अगर जीएस का होता तो थिंकर नहीं लाते, यहाँ थिंकर लाना है. तो वी विल ब्रिंग गैब्रियल आलमंड एंड पॉवेल, देयर क्लासिफिकेशन ऑफ प्रेशर ग्रुप्स. उनका बहुत फेमस क्लासिफिकेशन ऑफ प्रेशर ग्रुप है, इंस्टीट्यूशनल, एसोसिएशनल, नॉन एसोसिएशनल, एनोमिक. तो वो भी हम मेंशन करेंगे जब भी प्रेशर ग्रुप पे सवाल आएगा. ठीक है, और फिर करंट एग्जाम्पल्स देंगे. ये अगर आपने 4 चीज़ें इंक्लूड कर ली, 3-4 चीज़ें, यू विल गेट गुड मार्क्स इफ़ यू राइट एन आंसर विच कीप्स अप टू द क्वेश्चन आस्क्ड. ठीक है, तो दीज आर सम एसेंशियल फीचर्स दैट यू आर गोइंग टू ब्रिंग इन इफ अ क्वेश्चन इज ऑन प्रेशर ग्रुप्स. फाइन, नाउ लेट अस नाउ गो इनटू द क्वेश्चन क्रिटिकली असेस द रोल ऑफ प्रेशर ग्रुप्स इन डिसीजन मेकिंग प्रोसेस. ठीक है, तो अभी हम पहले प्रेशर ग्रुप को डिफाइन कर दिया, ऑल्सो नोन एज इंटरेस्ट ग्रुप्स, है ना. दे आर ऑर्गेनाइज्ड कलेक्शन ऑफ इंडिविजुअल्स और ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस दैट सीक टू इन्फ्लुएंस पब्लिक पॉलिसी एंड डिसीजन मेकिंग, है ना, विदाउट सीकिंग इलेक्टोरल ऑफिस. दिस इज व्हाट डिफरेंशिएट्स देम फ्रॉम पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज, है ना. और इनका मोडस विवेंडी क्या है? इनका मोडस ऑपरेशन है, मोडस विवेंडी है लॉबिंग. यस, सो दैट यू हैव टू मेंशन दे लॉबी, दे लीड पब्लिक कैंपेन्स एंड डायरेक्ट एक्शंस. डायरेक्ट एक्शन का एग्जाम्पल जैसे अभी जो फार्मर्स प्रोटेस्ट, दे वर सिटिंग ऑन द स्ट्रीट, तो डायरेक्ट एक्शन था वो, ठीक है। तो लॉबिंग, पब्लिक कैंपेन्स एंड डायरेक्ट एक्शन इज द मीन्स. Unlike political parties, they do not aim to control the government, but rather influence those who do control the government. फिर गैब्रियल आलमंड एंड पॉल का क्लासिफिकेशन बता दिया, वो 4 क्लासिफिकेशन, हमें उससे ज़्यादा चाहिए नहीं. अब देखो कुछ स्कॉलर्स है जो एसोसिएटेड है प्रेशर ग्रुप्स के साथ, उसमें से रजनी कोठारी है. इंडिया में प्रेशर ग्रुप्स हैव जनरली नॉट बीन कंसिडर्ड वेरी लेजिटिमेट. Presidential form of government, presidential system of democracy में pressure groups play a very important role, like US. But India parliamentary form of government, we don't like pressure groups. They are not seen as very legitimate. Yes, so you find that there has not been much research into pressure groups. Pressure groups का role grow किया है, हाँ है ना. पोस्ट लिबरलाइजेशन पहले भी थे, ऐसा था कि नहीं थे, वो नहीं था. ट्रेड यूनियंस है ना, फार्मर्स ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, ये सब एग्जाम्पल ऑफ प्रेशर ग्रुप्स ही थे. बट यू फाइंड देव गेन ग्रेटर लेजिटिमेसी एंड ग्रेटर रोल पोस्ट LPG रिफॉर्म. एंड रजनी कोठारी इज वन स्कॉलर हु हैज स्टडीड प्रेशर ग्रुप्स इन इंडिया, वन ऑफ द अर्लीस्ट स्कॉलर्स टू स्टडी प्रेशर ग्रुप्स. तो हम रजनी कोठारी को भी लाएंगे इस आंसर में, ठीक है. तो रजनी कोठारी गिव्स pressure groups in India have not always played an effective role in political landscape. ठीक है, आई हैव मैंशनड, ये पॉइंट भी मेंशन कर दिया, और रजनी कोठारी ने उसका रीज़न भी दिया, क्या है, डोमिनेंस ऑफ कम्यूनल प्रेशर ग्रुप्स. एज अ कॉन्सिक्वेंस दे डिड नॉट एन्जॉय मच. RSS वगैरह क्या है, प्रेशर ग्रुप्स है, ठीक है. कांग्रेस डोमिनेंस था इन पास्ट, तो देयरफॉर एज अ कॉन्सिक्वेंस प्रेशर ग्रुप्स हैड लिमिटेड रोल. इन फैक्ट other political parties were called as parties of pressure by Rajni Kothari due to their limited influence. However, since 1960s, ज़्यादा influence आ गया, और recent example है farmer protest which forced the government to revoke the 3 farm laws. But अभी भी farmer protest चल रहा है because they are demanding a guarantee, a law guaranteeing MSP. ठीक है, तो अब coming to the main question, I have gone a little in depth, but I have given you all the points जो एसेंशियल है, रजनी कोठारी मेंशन करना है प्रेशर ग्रुप के आंसर में, है ना. तो दैट इज़ व्हाट. नाउ अब क्या है, उनका क्या रोल है इन डिसीजन मेकिंग, दैट इज़. तो अगर हम क्रिटिकली एनालाइज, तो प्रोज एंड कॉन्स दोनों लिखने हैं हमें. तो दैट इज़ व्हाट आई हैव डन. आई हैव रिटन प्रोज एंड कॉन्स पे मैंने कंक्लूड किया है, बिकॉज कितना है ना, 15 नंबर ही लिखना है. फाइन. एंड अगर मैं प्रोज एंड कॉन्स अलग अलग से पूरा डिटेल में डिस्कस करूँगी, देन आई कैन नॉट ब्रिंग इन डिस्कशन से ऑन Gabriel Almond, I can not bring Rajni Kothari. Maybe I don't need to discuss all this. ये मैंने अभी notes purpose के लिए बस लिख दिया यहाँ पे. But we need to bring in Rajni Kothari. तो that creates scope कि अगर हम cons को conclusion में discuss कर लें. हाँ ठीक है. Positive role क्या है? Representation of diverse interest. Also, when we talk about pressure groups, you can bring the theory of elitism versus theory of pluralism. जो आप सेक्शन A में पढ़ते हो, है ना. तो ये जो प्लूरलिस्ट थिंकर्स है, दे एम्फसाइज ऑन द रोल प्लेड बाय द प्रेशर ग्रुप्स. रॉबर्ट डाल इज एन इम्पॉर्टेंट प्लूरलिस्ट थिंकर. तो प्लूरल ग्रुप्स का इंटरेस्ट गेट्स रिप्रेजेंटेड इन द डेमोक्रेटिक पॉलिसी एंड पॉलिसी फॉर्मुलेशन थ्रू प्रेशर ग्रुप्स. बिजनेसमैन का भी ग्रुप है, लेबरर्स का भी ग्रुप है, ट्रेड यूनियन भी है, फार्मर्स भी है, विमेन भी है, दलित पर्सपेक्टिव भी है. तो all these groups ensure when pressure groups of all these sections would be active, they will ensure that the Indian polity represents interest of all these groups and does not neglect them. It ensures that the democratic polity does not become tilted in favor of one particular elite group of the society. ठीक है, तो वही है. तो representation of diverse interest, enhancing political पार्टिसिपेशन, लोग ज़्यादा पार्टिसिपेट कर रहे हैं क्योंकि हर कोई तो इलेक्शन नहीं लड़ना चाह रहा है ना. फिर प्रोवाइडिंग एक्सपर्टीज़, दीज प्रेशर ग्रुप्स विल प्रोवाइड एक्सपर्टीज़ एंड इन्फॉर्मेशन, है ना. फिकी इज़ अ प्रेशर ग्रुप, प्रेशर ग्रुप वो एक्सपर्टीज़ देगा अपना. गवर्नमेंट अकाउंटेबिलिटी एंड ट्रांसपेरेंसी इंश्योर करेंगे. पॉलिसी इनोवेशन, दे आर एट टाइम्स कॉल्ड एज द लेजिस्लेटर्स बिहाइंड द लेजिस्लेटर्स. ये लेजिस्लेशन बनाने में हेल्प करते हैं, ठीक है. चेक्स एंड बैलेंसेस, है ना. तो वही वो मैंने प्लूरलिस्ट लाइक रॉबर्ट ढाल एंड SM लिपसेट. देखो इन क्वेश्चंस में अगर अच्छे मार्क्स चाहिए, अगर पॉल साइंस में अच्छे मार्क्स चाहिए, तो उसका तरीका है कि आप सवाल जो जवाब लिखोगे, the answer that you write has to be in relation to the question asked. You have to correctly interpret and write an answer which is very much in line with the question asked. Second, bring as many additional points. Like, you know, just I told you, when pressure groups is asked, you bring political parties. If you can draw an infographic, you bring theory of pluralism, you bring Rajani Kothari. Yes, so by bringing such elements, because it is just 15 marker, now it is not a big answer that you have to write. In less number of words, you have to throw in the phrases. Gabriel, Almond and Powell, his classification of pressure groups into 4 types. Yes, so what you need is that. You need to bring in scholars, thinkers, and just quote them. That does not mean you have to devoid your answer of analysis. आप आंसर वही लिख रहे हो जो सवाल पूछा गया है, but still then you are bringing these key phrases, you are bringing key thinkers, you are bringing in key theories, trying to contrast Gandhi ji with Jawaharlal Nehru, pressure group with political parties, fundamental rights with DPSP. Yes, that is how you write an answer. If function is asked, you understand it is critical evaluation of performance that is asked. Yes, that comes with practice, that comes as you prepare the syllabus. Generally what happens, PSIR is looked upon as a very big subject, relatively big. I feel there are other optional subjects which are bigger. Yes, but what is the advantage with PSIR? Tremendous overlap with GS. Yes, paper 1, paper 2, paper 3, ज़्यादा नहीं तो paper 4. Yes, then you have essay, then you have your interview. Everywhere there is an overlap. And I might be biased, I find this subject to be very interesting. Yes, not all subjects, maybe those who, let me not bring in this point, and those who are preparing whatever subject, they might find that interesting. But anyways, it is quite diverse, quite interesting and simple also. They do not want you to write the language of the scholars in simple words. You have to express key ideas. That is it. Yes, if you are able to do so, you will get good marks. Yes, fine. So on that note, so pressure groups, the positive role we have discussed, and in conclusion, we have discussed some problems. What is the problem? Concern about transparency and accountability, undermining democratic processes. Maybe some pressure groups can become so powerful that democratic process is hampered. Now, number of pressure groups are demanding different things from the government. So policy making becomes factionalized. There is no coherent policy that the government is able to come out with. Yes, so these are some of the imbalanced policy making. If certain pressure group is very, very powerful, so policy making might just get tilted in their favor. Fine, so these are some of the concerns. However, they do play a very important role in policy making.
Completing the syllabus without proper knowledge of current affairs will not take you far in the UPSC Civil Services examination. Regulate and transform your preparation with complete coverage of news of relevance. Get a concrete hold of current affairs for UPSC CSE with Vision IS Monthly Current Affairs Revision Program starting from 20th September at 5 p.m. The program is your guide to get comprehensive news on one platform sourced through relevant resources such as The Hindu, Indian Express, Economic Times, PIB, Yojana and others. Enroll for complete coverage of current affairs including Indian polity and constitution, economy, international relations and more. Comprehensive assessment of preparation through MCQs and mains-oriented questions. Expert support through personalized mentoring and online doubt resolution.
The last question that we have, yes, discuss the role of environmental movements in shaping environmental governance. Once again, as I told you, social movements very, very important. ठीक है, in fact, social movements का ही कह सकते हैं हम ये topic है. Social movement becomes pressure groups and then becomes political parties, है ना. और social movements का जो direct topic है, environmental, human rights and women's movement, they ask question. Year on year they'll ask at least one question there. So here this year they've asked role of environmental movement in shaping environmental governance. तो वही है जो environmental movement पे सब पता है वो लिखो. ठीक है, 20 नंबर का सवाल है. तो environmental movement का की आइडिया क्या है? ऑफ कोर्स क्वेश्चन के कंटेक्स्ट में लिखेंगे रोल ऑफ एनवायरमेंटल मूवमेंट. तो पहले एनवायरमेंटल मूवमेंट का जेनेसिस इन इंडिया. ठीक है, 1970s इज़ द टाइम व्हेन, क्योंकि उससे पहले बस न्यूली इंडिपेंडेंट थे, तो दैट हैप्पीनेस अबाउट बीइंग इंडिपेंडेंट एंड बिलीफ इन कांग्रेस एंड बिलीफ इन द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ द डे, that used to dominate. It is only from 70s we find beginning of these movements. So 1970s से शुरू हुआ ये movements. ठीक है, and then you have important scholars we have to quote. तो यहाँ पे environmental movement में कौन कौन important scholars है? रामचंद्र गुहा, सुनीता नारायण, वंदना शिवा. Yes, important scholars if we can quote them. Ramchandra Guha talks about empty stomach environmentalism. He distinguishes environmentalism in India from environmentalism in the West. He says in the West, the concern of environmental movement is to safeguard the environment. But in case of India, the primary idea driving environmental movement is to safeguard the environment, to secure livelihood, to secure survival. In West, environmental movement is led by scholars, experts. But in case of India, it is led by tribal communities, rural communities, because their livelihood is dependent on environment. Fine. So that is the idea that we have mentioned, Ramchandra Guha. First similar idea is expressed by Sunita Narayan in her book, Not in My Backyard. She has differentiated between protectionist conservatism of the West and utilitarian conservatism in the East. Once again, that same very idea. Now, irrespective of their nature, environmental movements have played an important role in shaping environmental governance. अब मेन क्वेश्चन पे आ गए. अब environmental movements कुछ एग्जाम्पल दो, अब है ना, एग्जाम्पल दे दे के बताओ ये एनवायरमेंटल मूवमेंट, इसका क्या इम्पैक्ट रहा इन शेपिंग एनवायरमेंटल गवर्नेंस. तो बेसिकली प्राइमरी मूवमेंट्स क्या है? चिपको मूवमेंट, नर्मदा बचाओ मूवमेंट, तेहरी डैम मूवमेंट, है ना, सेफगार्ड वेस्टर्न घाट्स मूवमेंट. तो ये सारे मूवमेंट्स और इनका क्या क्या इम्पैक्ट रहा. तो चिपको मूवमेंट फर्स्ट मूवमेंट था, तो इसीलिए बता दिया, लेड बाय सुंदरलाल बहुगुणा एंड चंदी प्रसाद भट्ट. Yes, it was led by women also. They also they started hugging to prevent felling of the forest, dense forest of Uttarakhand, and it results in government enacting Forest Conservation Act of 1980. ये 1970s में था और 1980 में ये एक्ट enact किया, which significantly restricted commercial logging. उसी के बाद you find Article 48A, Article 51A as part of fundamental duty and as part of DPSP got introduced through Constitutional Amendment Act 42nd. Then Silent Valley Movement, once again tightened regulation on forest land diversion for non-forest purposes. Narmada Bachao Andolan led to formulation of comprehensive rehabilitation policies. ठीक है, फिर तेहरी डैम, नीड फॉर कॉम्प्रीहेंसिव एनवायरमेंटल इम्पैक्ट असेसमेंट, EIA, ये तेहरी डैम से ट्रेस करते हैं. गंगा रिवर क्लीनिंग मूवमेंट लीड्स टू नमामि गंगे प्रोग्राम. तो इसी तरह से ये सारे एनवायरमेंटल मूवमेंट्स हैव कंट्रीब्यूटेड टू फॉर्मुलेशन ऑफ एक्ट सच एज एनवायरमेंट प्रोटेक्शन एक्ट, इंक्रीज्ड अवेयरनेस ऑफ सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट practices, pushed for better environmental governance which emphasizes on community rights, biodiversity conservation and sustainable resource management. ठीक है, अब फिर से उसको कंक्लूड करने में क्रिटिसाइज कर रहे हैं. ठीक है, लेकिन अभी क्या हो गया, रीसेंट टाइम में पोस्ट लिबरलाइजेशन जब से हुआ है, you find less focus on environmentalism. Environmentalism is seen in contrast to development. Environment versus development debate genesis है. But then you need to understand that है ना, we have to strike a balance between the two and move forward, in which environmental governance will play an important role. And environmental governance को shape करने में environmental movements will have an important role. So to strike a balance, who can strike? Through environmental governance, through laws and policies. And laws and policies में you find importance of environmental movement. तो एक cyclical way में conclude कर दिया. ये direct question है once again. Simple question. ये theories पता होनी चाहिए, फिर आप आराम से आंसर लिखोगे. Relative deprivation is a major source of ethnic conflict. है ना, ये सब जगह यही होता है, रिलेटिव डेप्रिवेशन की वजह से ही एथनिक कन्फ्लिक्ट होता है. आप चाहो तो इसमें एथनिसिटी को डिफाइन कर सकते हो. यू कैन स्टार्ट योर आंसर बाय डिफाइनिंग एथनिसिटी. यू विल डिफाइन रिलेटिव डेप्रिवेशन, देन यू विल डिस्कस हाउ रिलेटिव डेप्रिवेशन लीड्स टू एथनिक मूवमेंट्स. ठीक है, अब इसको हम, क्योंकि ये वंस अगेन ऑप्शनल सब्जेक्ट का पेपर है, तो वी विल ब्रिंग इन थिंकर्स. ठीक है, एथनिसिटी का क्या होता है लेमैन टर्म्स में? रेस, है ना. देन रिलेटिव डेप्रिवेशन, सोशियोलॉजिकल कंसेप्ट, वेल ग्रुप्स परसीव देमसेल्व्स एज डिसएडवांटेज्ड इन कंपैरिजन टू अदर्स. व्हाट इज द, हाउ इज इट अ सोर्स ऑफ conflict? Because when groups feel marginalized in terms of political power, economic opportunities or social status, it leads to feeling of injustice and resentment. अब इसमें कुछ थियरीज है, ये बहुत फेमस थियरीज है. सन ऑफ द सॉइल थियरी बाय मीरॉन वीमर. ठीक है, तो ही टॉक्स अबाउट मूवमेंट अगेंस्ट इमाइग्रेंट्स, एंड अगेंस्ट द लोकल्स नहीं है, अगेंस्ट इमाइग्रेंट्स, मूवमेंट ऑफ बाय लोकल्स अगेंस्ट द इमाइग्रेंट्स. एग्जाम्पल असम एजिटेशन ऑफ 1980s. असम में बहुत मेजर एजिटेशन था, उसके बाद असम अकॉर्ड साइन हुआ था. यस, इवन नाउ असम इज फेसिंग Sons of Soil movement. If you have been reading the newspaper, Assam's chief minister, and he was also criticized. Hemanta Biswa Sarma, he was criticized for certain comments of his. Yes, so this movement abhi bhi chal raha hai, Sons of Soil. Culture of Scarcity model by Mark Juergensmeer. Yes, this can also be treated as relative deprivation model. बिल्कुल सवाल पे ही है. And people of one region feel they are deprived of the benefits of development. For example, entire Northeast, they feel that their resources have been plundered for the benefit of rest of the country. Then Robert Hargrave's theory. It is similar to culture of scarcity model. He believes uneven development, when mixed up with cultural anxiety, gives rise to regional aspiration and ethnic conflict. In fact, abhi bhi jo Assam mein movement hai, you can link it to this. You can find examples and write modernization theory by Rudolph and Rudolph. है ना, तो एथनिक, अगर मॉडर्नाइजेशन हो रहा है, जितना मॉडर्नाइजेशन उतना चांस बढ़ रहा है. क्यों? डेमोक्रेसी स्प्रेड हो रहा है, एडल्ट एवरेज, कॉम्पिटिटिव इकोनॉमी. कॉम्पिटिटिव इकोनॉमी के थ्रू तो रिलेटिव डेप्रिवेशन का फीलिंग आ जाता है. रेलेवेंट एग्जाम्पल मणिपुर. यस, तो मेतीज एंड कुकीज़. कुकीज़ आर द ट्राइबल कम्युनिटी, मेती आर नॉन ट्राइबल. दे आर द डोमिनेंट पॉपुलेशन लिविंग इन द वैलीज. Metis have generally been more prosperous than the Kukis. However, what has happened? One of the reasons for the conflict was the High Court of Manipur had said that reservation can be extended to the Metis. Yes, so now that led to the turmoil. Yes, because relative deprivation कि हमारा जो है उसमें एक शेयर दे दिया जाएगा. Metis were already prosperous. फिर Naga nationalism mixed with distinct identity plus relative deprivation, है ना. तो the Indian government does not work for them. Also you find apart from relative deprivation कुछ और भी factors होंगे जो ethnic conflicts को contribute करते हैं, such as historical grievances, political manipulation and resource competition. Thus it is important to address inequality through inclusive governance to prevent conflicts. Last question is, Gram Sabha in Panchayati Raj system is a forum which gives expression to collective wisdom, aspiration and will of the people. वेरी सिंपल क्वेश्चन, खुद ही लिख सकते हो, इसमें कुछ है नहीं बताने को. ठीक है. ग्राम सभा, ग्राम सभा क्या है? पंचायती राज इंस्टीट्यूशन का एक है ना. इट इज़ एग्जाम्पल ऑफ डायरेक्ट डेमोक्रेसी. ठीक है. इंडिया में डायरेक्ट डेमोक्रेसी का यही एग्जाम्पल है ग्राम सभा, जहाँ ऑल द एडल्ट्स ऑफ द विलेज विल कम एंड पार्टिसिपेट इन द ग्राम सभा, एंड ग्राम सभा इज इन्वॉल्व इन इनिशिएशन ऑफ लेजिस्लेशन और वट एवर एट द लोकल लेवल. ठीक है. तो यू फाइंड तो ग्राम सभा, तो यहाँ पे वही ग्राम, जब भी अब ये सब बात करना है क्या, एक्सप्रेशन ऑफ कलेक्टिव विजडम. So all the people come together, so collective aspirations and will of people. अब democratic decentralization, oceanic circles of power, गांधी जी का जो concept है वही लिखना है. ठीक है. तो that is the idea. ग्राम सभा is at the core of ग्राम स्वराज. तो इसी को अपने ही क्वेश्चन से ही आपने एक आंसर निकाला. फाइन. ग्राम सभा is an essential component of पंचायती राज system where is, वो एज हो गया, इज एन एसेंशियल कॉम्पोनेंट वेयर विलेज लेवल सिटीजन्स डायरेक्टली पार्टिसिपेट इन डिसीजन मेकिंग प्रोसेस. फिर गांधी जी को ले आए ग्राम स्वराज, ओशनिक सर्कल्स ऑफ पावर. अकॉर्डिंग टू गांधी जी, इंडिपेंडेंस शुड बिगिन एट द बॉटम. वॉइस ऑफ द पीपल इज द वॉइस ऑफ गॉड. यस, एंड पंचायत रिप्रेजेंट्स द वॉइस ऑफ द पीपल. या ग्राम सभा लिख दो आप, ग्राम सभा रिप्रेजेंट्स द वॉइस ऑफ द पीपल. Gram Sabha serves as a platform for collective discussion on local issues, allowing for articulation of communities' wisdom and needs. Democratic decentralization helps in ensuring accountability, transparency, people's participation. Yes, especially in areas such as resource allocation, developmental policies. Social audit एक example है MG नरेगा के अंडर. And then critically evaluate its effectiveness. While it empowers, challenges like low participation, lack of awareness, lack of education, political interference, yes, are the problems. Despite this, it remains a vital instrument of grassroots democracy and local governance. Fine. This is how we'll go about dealing with this topic. Fine. I hope you have got some idea as to how to go about attempting Section B of Paper 1 of PSIR. Fine, that is how we'll go about answering the questions. And कुछ key ideas हैं, उनको ध्यान रखो. Previous year questions पढ़ो, syllabus देखो, previous year question, and practice answer writing. If you practice, you will understand कैसे लिखना है. आपको याद भी हो जाएगा किस topic में किस thinker को लाना है, किस टॉपिक में किस आइडिया के साथ कॉन्ट्रास्ट करना है. यस, मेयर रीडिंग विल नॉट सफाइस, है ना, क्योंकि अल्टीमेटली द एग्जामिनर इज गोइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड यू या इवेल्युएट यू थ्रू योर आंसर स्क्रिप्ट्स. और आंसर स्क्रिप्ट में कई बार हमारे पास नॉलेज बहुत होता है बट वी आर नॉट एबल टू पेन इट डाउन. सो द बेटर स्ट्रक्चर्ड कोहरेंट आंसर दैट यू आर एबल टू राइट, better marks you will secure, and even 1 mark in each answer makes a huge difference. Yes, fine. On that note, let's conclude this session. Fine, thank you.